What can we do with this information? How can we take this information and implement it into our lives and to make, you know, some kind of constructive use of it? So first thing I wanted to do was, we had a bit of a kind of energizer, but I think because there's a lot of ideas that are quite heavy today, and I think, you know, you could really use them, they can be quite powerful. I just wanted to take a minute to just kind of ask everyone to close their eyes and just kind of reflect a little bit on their day, reflect on how you want the session to go, what you want to get out of whatever kind of information I throw at you today, and just to kind of focus our minds a little bit. So just everyone close your eyes and kind of just sit and think and just have some quiet time for a minute. And Jamie, if you can time it, that would be great. Like a minute, yeah. So the title for the talk today is about modern mythology, superheroes and the Hindu tradition, is what I want to kind of go into. And I really just want to take you on a little bit of a journey today and share some ideas that have really inspired me to do a lot of the things that I do, and have kind of really helped me to grow as a person. But I think it's also important for me to kind of know that I'm not any different to you, so I don't want you to feel like I'm the all source of knowledge and I think that I'm kind of someone special because I'm standing up here, because I'm not. I am a hypocrite, and I'm trying to be less of a hypocrite every day, but I'm just as confused sometimes and just as lost as everybody else. But there are some ideas that I want to share and some thoughts that I'd like to discuss, and hopefully we can kind of create a discussion and a conversation that helps each and every one of us. So yeah. And the first thing I wanted to start off with was, obviously, we're all a Hindu society here, and one of the main things that we do when we go to the temple is, we say Gayatri mantra, or we'll say Om Namah Shivaya, whatever the mantra is. So I've been doing quite a lot of reading and a lot of research into some of the ancient texts that we have in our culture, and this is a particularly powerful one that I found while I was in India when I was really little. And basically what happened was, this priest taught me this mantra, and I've used it ever since, and it's really helped me to become more confident. It's helped me to really kind of, when I'm feeling a little bit anxious before an exam, it's something I always kind of use. So I wanted to share that mantra with you today, and then at the end I'm going to explain the meaning behind it and what the significance is. So I was hoping that you'd kind of recite this mantra with us, because usually I think sometimes, do you do Adli before try and chat? Yeah, so this can kind of be a little bit of a replacement. So I'm going to try and say it to you, and then you can repeat it after me, yeah? So it goes, Sarva Mangala Vasaraha Prabhata Aham. So you're going to repeat the same line after me, yeah? Sarva Mangala Vasaraha Prabhata Aham. And then it's Patala Helio Tad Dalata Jagra Janrut. So Patala Helio Tad Dalata Jagra Janrut. So we're going to say that mantra a few times, and hopefully we can practice it, and by the end of the session it's at least one thing that you can kind of walk away with, and it's a bit of a tool that you can use whether you think it's useful or not. but I just followed up for that. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of look at was introduce the concept of heroes. Who are our heroes? Who are the heroes that we have as Hindus? And the first person that comes to mind when I ask myself that question is, as you can see, is a picture from a comic actually called Rama and AD. So it's kind of, I think it's quite interesting the way that it's been drawn. But yeah, the first two people that come to mind are Ram and Krishna, because obviously we see these idols every time we go to the temple, and some of our main festivals are celebrating these great characters and these great heroes. So, you know, I kind of wanted to start off by thinking about who are our heroes. Is there anybody that kind of inspires you? Is there anybody that you think is a hero? You know, just feel free to shout out. Jemu? Who's your hero?
Who's my hero?
Somebody that inspires you.
Swami Vivekananda.
Okay, cool. It doesn't have to be someone religious, by the way. It could be anyone. It could be Kim Kardashian. Wouldn't recommend it.
My grandma, probably.
Okay, grandma. Why is that?
She brought me up.
Okay. Anyone else?
Nick Vujicic.
Sorry, who?
Nick Vujicic.
Who's that?
He's the guy with no arms, no legs.
Alright, okay.
Smiling about life and that stuff.
Yeah, so the adversity that he's overcome is something that inspires you. Okay, and one more. Someone from this side of the team.
My mum, because she manages home life, work life, everything.
Okay, yeah, so we've got a great variety there, you know, like people who've got severe disabilities and they've still overcome that great religious character, and also like two people that are really kind of personal and close up. So essentially a hero can be anybody. But in terms of Hinduism, which is what we're obviously going to focus on today, is two of them are, you know, Ram and Krishna. And so I wanted to start off by playing another game, which is, we're going to start off with you. What's your name? Sorry? Mikita. Okay. And we're going to go this way, and we're going to play, have you ever played that game where you say a sentence and the next person has to finish it and you kind of come up with a random story? But we're going to try and say the Ramayana, so we'll see how good our knowledge is and how far we can get with the story. So by the time we get to, what's your name? Radhika. By the time we get to Radhika, over on the far corner over here, we want to get to the end of the story. So don't worry too much if you get stuck. Other people can help you out if you do. So let's just see how far we can get. So, and also remember, if you're in the middle, then you should be somewhere around the middle of the story. So try and remember what happens at the middle of the Ramayana, like roughly in the middle of the story. And we'll help you along, but I just wanted to kind of see where the knowledge is at, see what the level of the understanding and familiarity is in the room. So, do you want to start? So you can just start however you want. You know, once upon a time there was a king or whatever, and we'll try and help you with it. And if you get stuck, you can just ask a friend.
You can start where Sita gets given.
Okay, but is okay. So you want? What's the beginning of the story? Is that where it starts? Or we want to start off with Ram, like the birth of Ram, for example. So how does that come about? So
There was a king.
okay, cool. There was a king. Okay, so that's your sentence. All right. There was a king, and he had a son, for example, and his name was Ram. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you wanted to go that far? We've got to get to the end of the story. Don't forget.
King's life as well.
Okay. So okay, we'll move on to the next person.
So you got married.
Okay.
You have
Yeah.
3 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. No worries. We're getting there slowly. And then? Yeah, he did have more than one wife. Yep. Okay.
And one mother was.
Feel free to help her out, by the way, because you're a team, remember? So don't let her suffer on her own. Just, if she gets stuck. It doesn't matter about facts. It's just we're just trying to get a general gist of the story.
Did he have a step?
Yeah, basically they had like 4 brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. One more. Shut through them. Okay.
So they had.
So there were 4 sons. Yeah. Okay. Is that fine? Should we move on? Okay. And Jim, you have to add stuff because you're the learning coordinator. so you should be kind of helping.
Actually, I was the learning coordinator last year, so technically it's tough.
Well, you two should be like kind of. Okay, so over to you.
There's competition to marry Sita.
Yeah. And what happened in the competition? Do you remember?
Wasn't it the shoot the eye of the fish in the reflection?
No, she did
Isn't it Janelle?
Yeah, that's that. You are onto one story. That's another one.
Delivering the ready boat.
Yeah. And then what happens? He picks it up. And
All the big guys from the land came and they couldn't lift it, and this guy, a supposedly skinny guy, it was meant to be weak, just lifted it.
okay. Yeah. And then what happens because of that?
Oh, yeah, he broke it.
What does he win? He's playing for something. Isn't he?
Yeah, see the sound?
Okay. And then
I don't know what happened with that, but I know like
it's okay. You can help her out. Even if you
married?
skip like a bit.
Because I don't know all that bit before it.
but I know like the king made a promise. No, one of the wives made a promise saying,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
because the king helped her out,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, I'll ask you when I
Yeah,
did it,"
yeah.
and she wanted it when like basically what she wanted was Ram to go run west,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's when she chose.
So yeah. So what happens is he gets married, and then the time comes for him to become heir to the throne. But unfortunately, she decides to take up that promise that he made, and because he's a man of his word, King Dashrath decides that okay, even though he doesn't want to send his son to the forest, she wants her son, Bharat, to become the king. So next part of the story.
Central Forest.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sita gets kidnapped.
Yeah. They go to the forest, and then Sita gets kidnapped. Yeah.
But
So-
I thought that they're banished to the forest, and it's Lakshman and Ram and Sita who go,
Yeah.
and they're in the forest, and then I think the demon, what's his name?
Ravan.
Yeah.
That's his name. Yeah, he comes in a disguise, I think, as a deer.
Yeah.
But then, whenever Lakshman and Ram need to go hunting, they draw a magic circle around it, like, don't come out of the circle. The circle's to protect you.
Yeah.
So she stays in there. So the demon disguises him as a deer, but she doesn't fall for it.
And then he comes back.
And
And
then
then he's
he's
back
like,
again as old
Yeah.
sage.
And then he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I need water or something," and then she feels bad for him, so she comes out of her magic
Yeah.
circle.
He disguises
He tricks-
himself as a
Something or whatever.
what's the English word for it?
It's a holy man. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
like
It's
a
a
hand,
something,
you know,
yeah.
because they used to come and like
They live in
ask
the
for
forest, yeah.
something to, you know, like arms basically,
Mm.
and because she felt bad and she couldn't hand it over the line, he grabbed them and then obviously she got taken away. So
When they go to look for him,
yeah,
I don't know who. If it's just Ram, I don't know who else.
yeah. So Ram and Lakshman start looking for Sita.
So like when they were in the aeroplane, like she drops all her jewellery, and like they find it on the way, and then they find like they make friends with the monkey kind of race, but they weren't really the monkeys.
The Vanums.
Yeah. And that's when they like meet Hanuman.
Yeah, we should be about halfway, so we should be starting a war over here somewhere. Okay.
And then they want to find Sita, and they think she's in Lanka, and
Yeah.
so they want somebody to go and like bring Sita the message that Rama's coming, and so they send Hanuman because he can jump really far.
Yeah.
So he jumps across the ocean, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Made a bridge.
Calls her and proves it with a ring.
Yeah. Chaya.
So then he
You
comes
should give us a
back.
big detailed description
Oh.
of all the stuff that you know.
The rocks were like grey and red and granite.
Okay, not that much detail. I shouldn't have said that because she studies English. I should have known. She would just give us loads of detail.
No, it's alright. And then he goes back and I think the demon discovers he's been there or something. I don't know.
He burns it down.
Yeah, he finds
Yeah.
Hanuman. Yeah.
And
then they
then
capture him, and then he set fire to his tail.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
then he returns back and he tells Rama what's happened. And so they get boulders and they start building them across the sea.
Yeah.
So they make a bridge from the south of India all the way to Lanka. Apparently you can see that on a satellite. I don't
It's
know.
on NASA. NASA apparently found it. They call it Adam's Bridge, but it's Ram Situ. It's Ram Situ. Yeah, it's not.
But it's nice.
Yeah, part of the fairy tale, I guess. Well, not fairy tale. Bad word to use. Part of the mythology.
And then they cross it.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think this is the part of the story even I find the most kind of my details start to get a bit sketchy because after the war we don't kind of know that's part of the story. But yeah, so they they find out where she is, and then they tell Ram. So then, what happens?
With Ram and Lakshman and everyone go.
Yeah, they it's war. So they can't fight them. Yeah. Okay, so we've got 2 left. So you've got to wrap up the story between the 2 of you.
They defeat Ravan and manage to get Sita back.
Do you remember how they defeat him?
No.
He had 10 heads.
Did it burn him?
Was it he had an arrow or something?
Yeah.
And did he keep moving the heads or where was it?
Yeah. So they kept shooting his head, and then he had like 10 lions. So that's what the 10 heads are another symbol of. And then they
He managed to shoot the right one,
Yeah.
and
And they use it.
so they won, and then they return home.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't find their way, so what everyone else did, they were assuming they were still alive, so they put they lit candles and stuff for them to find their way home, hoping they'd come home, but they did.
Yeah.
And then
that
they gave the
became-
king, then he gave him his rightful throne.
Yeah.
So and the brother actually waited because the brother didn't want, the stepbrother didn't want the throne.
Yeah.
He goes, I'll wait for Ram to come back.
Because when he went to the forest, he tried to stop him from going in the sandals, right? Okay. And then you can finish off. And I want you to get up to the bit of Love Bush, because I know you should. Do you know that bit?
No.
Okay. Okay. So no, I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. I just wanted to have. It's a bit of a fun game.
Can't give every.
Kind of get a feel for the story. And like I said at the beginning, it's not about facts and knowing like every detail. It's about getting to the crux of what the story is about. So after they come home, they live prosperously. Ram becomes king. Everybody's happy. Ayodhya becomes a great kingdom. But eventually, what happens is, and we're going to come to this later, is because Sita was kidnapped and she stayed with another man. The society
They
was-
thought she was pure, and then Ram cast her out, didn't he?
So in order to quell the rumors, Ram had to banish Sita for I think it was for 14 years to the forest, something like that. And so she has to be sent away, and then she's pregnant at the time, I think, and then she has love and Kush, and then what happens? I'm kind of skimming loads of details here, but they come back and they find Ram, and so I just wanted to play that game just to kind of keep you engaged, because I don't want it to just be me talking, so I try and keep you as much involved as possible. And so I really wanted to focus on kind of looking at the qualities and the legacies, and just some of the anecdotes that each hero that we're going to look at today had. This is actually a picture of when Ram's trying to cross the waters to get to Lanka to find Sita, and he has a little confrontation with the god of the sea, whose name I can't remember, unfortunately. And so who was Ram? What were his qualities? Obviously, he's an ancient hero. I'm going to read this off for you. Prince of Ayodhya, who dedicated his life to the ideals that he so strongly believed in, and he was somebody who believed in his ideals so strongly that when his stepmother said, even though you're rightfully the heir to the throne, I want my son to become the heir, he accepted it. He didn't even question it, and he even convinced his own father to go through with the promise that he'd made. So can you imagine the kind of integrity and the kind of belief that somebody would have to say, well, you know what, I'm going to follow the ideal, even though I think that in this situation the motive might be off, or whatever it is. He had such dedication to his ideal and such dedication to following that principle of being a good son and following his stepmother's wishes, that he was willing to go to the forest and give up his entire kingdom, his entire riches that he had from birth. And everybody wanted him to become king. Everybody wanted him to become the heir to the throne, but yet he's willing to sacrifice that just for this ideal, just for that belief that he held. And then obviously one of the main things that we know is that he defeated Ravan, who was blessed with a boon by the gods and couldn't be killed by any kind of creature except for a human, which he arrogantly didn't ask for when he was given his boon as his tapasya. And eventually Ravan became the ultimate demon. And interestingly, before that he was known as Dasa's son, and he was actually a very big devotee of Lord Shiva, and he could have turned out like Ram, but all that happened was he lost touch with that ideal, and he started to cut corners, and as he started to cut corners it started to build up, and then next thing you know, he's a 10-headed demon kidnapping somebody's wife. And so it kind of, the story of Rama kind of shows us again here that dichotomy of how easy it is to go from one extreme to the other, with if you don't pay attention carefully to which direction you're going in. Because even if you imagine it's a curve and you make a 5% shift, that could mean that you can go from here and it could have been there. So that's a big, even though it might be these small things that we're doing, it can have a big impact later on.
They even said that Ravan, he went to Moksha because when he passed, he asked God for forgiveness. So even when he asked God for forgiveness, it just shows that even though he may be seen as this 10-headed demon, he asked for forgiveness. The last thought was God. It wasn't of anything else.
And
so he went to...
Such was the forgiveness and the kind of magnanimous heart that Ram had, that he was able to forgive this man who took, you know, the most precious thing away from him. And that again shows his kind of ideal character. And Ram is an example of somebody who was known as a Maryad Purush. That means that the ultimate man, the most ideal man that you could ever imagine possible. Like, if we were to create a character that had every single quality that we wanted in the world, and we put him into the story, and he faces all these challenges, all these demons, he goes to the forest for 14 years, and he doesn't have anything. Imagine, you're in the forest, you know, where are you going to get food from? Where are you going to sleep? And you have to look after your wife and your brother at the same time. So, this is somebody who had so much dedication to these ideals, so much belief in them, that he was so selfless that he was willing to go through all of these things and still come out the other side and still say to these people, okay, I'll forgive you. And there's a lesson in that in itself. And going on to the next bit, so legacies. What kind of legacy did this character leave behind for us today? You know, this is obviously it's not a story from last week in the sun or anything. This is something that goes back thousands and thousands of years. So the question again that I'm kind of trying to bring back is, what does this mean today? What does it mean to each and every one of us in this room that study degrees and do all these things and are thinking about careers in a few years' time and thinking about where you want to go with your life? How does that actually apply to us? Because it's very easy to listen to a very nice story, but what's the actual point? So some of the legacies that we have today as Hindus, obviously you've got the festival of Dasara, which celebrates the defeat of a 10-headed demon who takes away everything from you that is precious. And I think there's a very powerful metaphor in that we literally celebrate a festival where we create an effigy of the most wickedest demon that we can think of, and then we burn it. What are we saying when we do that? What is the significance behind that? I'll leave that for you to think about. And then there's obviously Diwali, which who said the Diwali? Was it you? Someone here? About guiding him back to...
It's a lot of light.
Yeah, it was you. Like Radhika said, it's about kind of celebrating the power of light over darkness and finding your way, and it's a really colourful festival, a really tasty festival with all the samosas and sweets that we have, and it's all about celebrating those good things. And these are things that today that we still remember through, around through these festivals. And the literal meaning of Rama, and Ayan means journey, and Ram is obviously Ram. So this is the story of the journey of Prince Ram, a human being. Just like everyone in this room, he was a human being, don't forget that. So he was the same as me and you. And he went through this journey to become the ideal man. And to get to that place, to become the ideal man, in the story, he had to be banished, go to the forest for 14 years, fend for himself when he had everything, and it was his right, and it was completely, he earned that, but yet he was willing to give that up and go through all of these things to become the ideal man that we celebrate today. And just kind of, I wanted to reiterate and really kind of press on you the amount that he endured. Because sometimes in life, it's not just about how much you can give out and how much you can do, it's about how much you can endure. How much can you take from life? When life hits you hard, over and over again, are you still going to get up? And sometimes, as in Rocky Balboa, for those of us who've seen it, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And I think you know, the story of the Ramayana is a fantastic example of that. That despite being repeatedly hit, he was still able to hold on to these ideals that he held so closely. Even though everybody else around was saying, you don't need to do that, it's okay. But he was saying, no, this is the ideal that we should follow, and this is why I believe in it. And he was willing to kind of go through all of these things. He lost his brother at one point, he fought against demons, but yet he was able to hold on to these principles that he held so dearly. So the next part that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to have a little debate about, was Ram right to banish Sita? So we're talking about the ideal man, but this is an example of a contentious issue, I'm sure, particularly amongst the female population of the room. That obviously the context was people were starting to talk and say things about Sita and say, is she still pure? What happened when she was taken away and kidnapped by Ravan? Because everybody knew that he was trying to marry her. So you're just in time for our fantastic debate that we're going to have.
Good time.
So I think, yeah, if you sit on this side, you can just split it in half. So the thing that I wanted to debate was as it says on the tin, was Ram right to banish Sita? So we'll split the room in kind of 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, 18, 19, 20. I'm really bad at maths, sorry. Yeah, so there. So you guys are against, and you guys are for. So does anyone have anything that immediately they want to say on this topic? Do you think that was right that he sent
No.
he sent her? You don't. Why?
Because the trust issue is just obviously overlooked that, and that's the main thing about a relationship of a husband and wife is trust.
Yeah.
So I think he just overlooked that. I don't know.
Okay. Is there anything that you guys want to respond to? So remember, you're for. So you're standing up for Ram here. You're saying that there was a reason why he did what he did, and you guys are saying no, actually. Come on, I can see that you want to say something. No, but well, for the purpose of the exercise, if you had to put an argument for, what would you say? Because obviously it's not a black and white thing. Yeah. So he was trying to.
He's trying to show that he is the king, and like if it was anyone else, that he's just as normal as anyone else. That he's on their level. He's not like just because he's higher up, just because he's king, doesn't mean he should.
Yeah.
Like he should be an exception.
Yeah. So even though he's this big, he's the most powerful person in the kingdom, he's still saying that I'm still subject to. Are you saying the law of the land, or kind of what society's like, what the general consensus is? Because that's what I guess that's. Yeah. I'm trying not to put my opinion in there so far. Okay.
You said that Sita was pregnant and she got sent away, and she
don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. I think either she yeah. Because
did she come back with the? So obviously he wasn't there when they were brought up. Then the kid must have been 14.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was that Love and Kush, their names, the two boys, they were born while she was living away.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Did he feel bad about it when she came back? Because obviously he must have
I
realised
don't know,
what
you'd
it
have to
looked
ask
like.
him, I guess.
We'll go back to time and ask.
But they did come back to the kingdom, and then they did find out that in his defense, he did, when he did find out that they were his sons, sorry guys, come on, please. When he did find out that Love and Kush were his sons, he was like, he didn't know, so he immediately started crying, he embraced them and everything. But and even they didn't know that Ram was their father. So obviously it wasn't because he didn't care, it was just that he didn't know that this had happened, and he had to make this very difficult
But then
choice.
he knew he was wrong for banishing her in the first place.
I think even as a king, like even in today's society, I'm not saying that everybody does, because obviously you get royalists and you get anti-royalists or whatever the word is, but unfortunately, sorry, that's my opinion. Some people look up to the royal family as like an ideal mode for everyday families. That's probably why he felt, I'm the king, people look up to me. And if it happened in any other family, the woman, the man, it's about male honour and also pride as well. The woman would be sent away. So he might not have wanted to do it, but in keeping with the social constraints, I know.
No, carry on, sorry, yeah.
The social constraints, he had to, you know, tell her to go, even though he didn't want to go. That's his wife at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But I
and
agree, it's a trust thing as well. So.
Yeah. We have to move on because otherwise we'll be here all day. But yeah, it kind of leads on nicely to the little last few pebbles I wanted to throw at you was that obviously it's not a simple black and white issue, and you make some valid points, and I think, you know, it's a very tricky situation to be in. Society was kind of pointing fingers and rumours were being spread about how pure she was at the time, and that undermined, I guess, you know, I'm not defending anyone here, I'm just kind of trying to understand perhaps, or speculate anyway, that obviously undermined some of his authority or some of his standing as a king. And as Ramayana is about the story of the ideal son, the ideal brother, the ideal husband, he has all these ideals that he has to fit against. So how can I listen to what my mother-in-law wants and listen to what my father wants? He wants me to stay and not leave, and all these kind of things. And it's about somebody he's not thinking about, but I want Sita to stay with me, because everybody knows that they had a great marriage and a great kind of relationship, but it was more kind of a demonstration that he was willing to detach from his material desires and his how you doing, Richard? His I completely forgot what I was saying. Yeah, and as you can imagine, like, think about if you were in that position, how could you possibly make that choice, you know? But anyway, I could talk about that for a while. But essentially, to kind of wrap up the Ramayana and the character of Ram, the Ramayana is about following the rules and following them very, very rigidly and very strictly, to the point where you have to go to extremes sometimes because you're willing to stick to this ideal and you're willing to just stay on that path. But sometimes, as you kind of hinted at, it's a little bit